TGIF Warriors, welcome to F.A.C.E, where iron sharpens iron. How you doing, Ingmar? Steve, Mike, AJ, how are you? RJP, hi, Bran, Hugo, Ryan's here, James, K-Man's here too, and Ingmar, everyone's here. All right, so I hope everyone had a decent week. I know there's some, hi, Blake, I know there were some decent trades put out by the team. Hope you're able to take advantage of it. I'd call the trade of the week was the pattern in play, buying the S&Ps at 5,100. Wouldn't you guys say that was a pretty good call?
Oh, and the better call was getting out of it at like 52.50. Like a dumbass.
Yeah, well, a winner's a winner. A winner's,
Yeah,
I know, I know.
whatever.
Look, sounds like my trading. You
Sometimes,
make the tough money,
yeah,
the tough in the.
oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Dale, I didn't mean to cut
That's
you
all
off.
right. No, that's all
No,
right.
I
Go
was I
ahead.
was gonna say, and the frustrating thing is, I put in a short for the S&P yesterday, and then last night, the headlines come out that China might have some exemptions on tariffs, on US tariffs. Obviously, they got to try to de-escalate a little bit. And then, then the market rips higher, and I'm like, shit, we got to, cover everything. And then, getting up this morning, the market's upended because,
Yeah.
China's like, I don't know who, basically they're like, I don't know who the US is talking to, but it's not us, so,
It's very
in their
it's
own
very
words.
hard to hold positions in this environment if you're watching it all the time. Um, and I have look, uh, I have a hard time with control too. So it's hard to walk away. But I don't know. Ryan can do it. Man, Ryan, that's a lesson or a video for you to teach people how you're able psychologically able to sit with positions as long as you can, because for most people, unless they're losers, if they're just uh, have decimated them and they're not getting out, most people have a difficult time with that. The experience that Blake just talked about, that I talked about, you write the market, you make some money, and then the move continues without you. And we all need those runners to make up for our mistakes. So,
Yeah.
that's a critical psychological lesson if someone can get it. And, you know, model yourself after someone that can do it. Okay.
It, it,
So,
it is difficult though, but especially for US traders because you can't do that. It's first in, first out.
yeah.
So sometimes the only option is to close it all before you can get back in.
Okay.
And
All
that's
right.
that can be difficult. It's easy for me. I can cut little pieces off a trade, take
Right.
partial profits on a bit of the trade.
Shit, you can trade both sides of the market at the same time,
Yeah, I
which
can be
is
long and short at
Yeah.
the
freaking
same time. And
berserko.
I've done that. I've done short-term shorts against long-term longs, for example. Just
Yeah.
because you're
What a
trading
lot
that
of
trade.
flexibility that we don't have
Yeah.
here in the US.
And,
That's a
and we
big,
used to have it too. It
I
sucks.
know. Wow. Who
It's
changed it? Was that the
uh
Dodd-Frank law?
Dodd-Frank, yeah. Yep.
Bonkers.
Uh,
It's absolutely bonkers. How can you call it
those
protecting
Democrats.
people by restricting how they can,
Yeah,
take profit? I understand the other side of the coin,
yeah,
protecting against losses and stupidity, but you're still trading with one hand behind your back. But
yeah,
back to your point, it's it's just something you get used to. If you get in a winning position, I don't want to give it
right,
up. That's
right.
I don't have targets, and I'll try and let it go as much as possible. And I say to people, even if you do have the opportunity to take partials, when you get to a specific target area, then maybe take off just three quarters and leave a bit on
Yeah,
just to see if it goes. Potentially give
yeah,
up that bit of profit to see if it keeps going, or journal what happened afterwards.
yeah.
Do it on
That
do
journaling.
your real trade and do a trade on a demo account and see how that trade progressed afterwards. And you
Something
can,
maybe we don't emphasize enough. I don't do it anymore. I probably should. I know guys have traded for 40 years that are still journal their trades. Laziness. That's all it is. And if you're active, it's hard to keep up a journal. But
yeah,
especially for people in their first few years, that's one of the best ways to learn. Because if you just keep going through trades and you don't see it on paper, you're going to be repeating the same mistakes, and you're not going to know what you did right unless you put it down, put pen to paper. So, but
Dale, you said it, and you said it succinctly, actually. The laziness. What gets you off of your ass and off of your rump is when you take some pretty heavy losses. It seems like I go
yeah,
back to journaling when I'm having a real cold streak, and that even when I was prop trading for for Spectrum Capital and Gelos, for those 5 years that I did that, I mean when I was in a cold spell, I would actually kind of set down the shovel, stop digging the hole deeper, and then I would start journaling until I got
yeah.
my head straight. And then you're right, you get comfortable, and then you stop journaling, right?
Yeah, there's something about writing. I believe it's called NLP, neuro linguistic programming, which you have to write things down to make that connection. I had a hard time from going from updating my charts by hand to having it on my screen, because it didn't leave the same impression as it did when I was updating dailies, let's say. So write things down, important things, write them down and read them. Anyway, let's get back to the market. So, uh, this is a short, little small reversal week. Um, we are, this is Friday, so let's look at the weekly. So you got a little reversal week up from a little bit above Ryan's number. And Greg was talking about this area being real important, 112 here, 112 here, when he was here. Ryan, we have to start thinking about the Fed, right? What if they don't do anything?
they're not going to do anything.
They're not? Okay.
They're not going to do anything this half of the year. There's been enough Fed members who saying they don't know what's going on, don't know what's happening. Could
Yeah,
be this, could be that. We had Waller yesterday saying he doesn't see any clarity
right.
before July, and we may get it in the second half of the year. It gives them an excuse a
Yeah.
bit
He's
to
giving them
not.
cover.
Yeah, it tells the market we're not going to react to every Trump headline, and maybe not even every inflation move that is driven by tariffs or whatever.
Yeah.
So the central bank trade at the moment is pretty dead, which is not good for us as traders, but that's the market we're in. But we still may get surprises. If you look at Japan, we had a huge jump in Tokyo CPI last night.
Wow.
Pretty much everyone's not expecting the Bank of Japan to hike next week, but getting data like that and looking at all the rest of the data, you think, well, maybe there's a little chance they do go and hike next week, and then that will be the surprise trade. So yeah, there's some banks in play, some banks like the Bank of Canada. You're not even going to pay attention to them for the next 3-4 months.
Yeah. I mean, look at that weekly in the end where it held. So, anyway, uh, I think this is going to be a rip to sell. It might have 46 in it, 45, 46, but I know some people are looking to buy the weekly MA, the red moving average, but you start closing under 140, that's a big signal, real big signal. I mean, the width of the formation's
Yeah,
22, right? So you're
yeah,
talking 120 handle if it fulfills its objective. And I would think that would also mean, um, I think, lower rates.
possibly.
Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, here's the 10-year. Kind of week did it have? Yeah, I mean, this looks like it was just, shake every, you know, yield dove out, and 2 weeks in a row. That's a 2-week reversal. to the downside. Was looking at this, we take out this line here. You have big downside targets, big downside targets. So maybe they're not going to do anything, but I think they can ease without doing anything with rates. And isn't that what they did last week when the bonds were squirrely by coming out and saying we will provide liquidity? I think it was this day uh, when he came out. Powell came out. It was a Wednesday, and just a statement. We will provide liquidity, and then the meeting before they cut back on QT. I think it was this day, and it sure looked like there was intervention there. It looked like it was going to break that 85 level. So the Fed desk is watching F.A.C.E, but can they ease without lowering rates? Of course, right?
Yeah, loosen those financial conditions, tinker with their little
Yeah,
programs, and
yeah.
increase swap lines and all that sort of stuff, and reverse repos and all the other
Looks
tools
like
they've got in that set.
looks like something like that happened from here. He
Well,
made
I think
that
that
today, made the statement, and no one's pressed the short side of bonds or yields. And most of the guys I've talked to, a few guys, they're expecting the 2-year to collapse. The rates, I don't watch a 2-year. I guess I should, but they're looking for the short end of the market for rates to really come down hard. You have a view on it?
well, the market, when you're talking about Powell and what the market, every time there's a bit of a volatility, they want central banks. When are they going to step in and calm things down? And Powell was saying, we're not getting rid of swap lines. We're not going to, cause any liquidity issues. But also said, these aren't markets where we need to step in. Yeah, it's volatile, but it's not financially unstable, and that's what they look at. So, yeah, I mean, but as for yields,
They
like
care more
everything,
about the bond market, don't you think, than the stock market? He didn't make any statements about that when, we had a 20% sell-off in equities.
yeah,
It's when the
exactly.
bonds got squirrely, right?
Yeah,
So,
and they're looking at what the market is seeing regarding rates going forward and everything else. It's when you look at the Fed inflation expectations, everything going on, and we're seeing jump in inflation expectations in Michigan surveys and consumer confidence surveys. The Fed are looking further out. They're looking at market expectations way out, 5 years out, not what's happening tomorrow, not whether gasoline's going up 20 cents tomorrow. So yeah, and that's what central banks want to do. They want to keep things calm, let the market be volatile, but as long as you're not pushing the envelope and pushing our buttons, then you can get on with it. But yields, again, it's one of those situations. What is the dollar? What are yields going to do if all this trade stuff comes to fruition? If there's deals done and all the volatility comes out, the yield's going to come back down sub 4%. Or is the
yeah,
market going to go, well, hang on a minute, you've messed us around for 4 months. We don't trust you still, and it's going to take time to rebuild that trust. I don't know
right.
what happens.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the week in the dollar, I still think I look at the dollar and I'm still looking for, I talked to Jim, he said this was 5, but to me, I think that we have a C wave left. We'll find out next week. Kind of looks like, little head and shoulders bottom. This pullback's mild. It could pull back again. I still think it wants 101 um, in the Dixie. And your line in the sand for bear market in the dollar, I think for now is 102. But I would book longs up there and look to get short around the 101 level. Par and a half to 101 and a half next week. Um, what do you think? Head and shoulders?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I
So
don't
I
use it.
mean
Not my hair.
this does measure what is 13, call it the two and a half. that does get you 1050.
Yeah,
But anyway, looks heavy.
looks heavy,
Yeah,
but it's still not going down. It's still holding that 113, and it's been doing
yeah,
so for what, 2 weeks now. It was the
yeah,
same when we had the break above 105, the break above 108. When we got to 110, 111,
yeah.
it just wasn't going down.
So do you
Um,
short a 113 breakdown?
I don't. You could do, because there's probably plenty of stops building there, but my level's still 112. So yeah,
Okay.
you've got 100 pips to play with in that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it could do. It could very
Okay.
well do break 113.
All
I
right.
said when we were on Tuesday after we were trading up at 115, I said if it can't hold here, we could get 114, 113, and we got 113. Wasn't expecting it that quickly, but there you go. So yeah, we could go down to 110, 111,
Yeah.
absolutely on a break. And my 112 may not count for anything.
Yeah.
That's trading, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Uh, Blake, Canada's trying to grind out a low. Looks a lot like this.
I've played it twice on the long side this week. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
I think yesterday
Slow.
yeah, I mean, I made money. Yeah, yesterday evening, I think I took it off my other one off for like negative 10 pips. It's been a little frustrating, as you're pointing out right here. It is building a bit of a base, but if you take a little bit, do you mind if I grab the charts
Oh
here?
no, not
Yeah,
not at
yeah,
all, man. Here.
I'll show you just since you got the chart up. Um, let me pull it up here real quick. Okay, so when you're looking at the dollar CAD, the way I'm viewing this is you can go like longer term. I say longer term. There's the daily chart. You can see how the daily chart's developing this descending channel, and
Yeah.
relative strength is very divergent on this last move lower. You can see how we pushed lower and it's just not moving lower. So I've been thinking that it was going to be basing alongside with the like the dollar Mexican peso has been finding some buyers around the 1950 level, even though that still looks more bearish from a breakdown standpoint. But yeah, it has been a little frustrating as far as even being on the long side. I played it on the long side yesterday or in the last 2 days, made a little money, lost a little money, and I think if we break this 139.10, that puts us at that 140 level. And maybe it's the retail sales today that does the trick. But I one of the other things I should mention, and then maybe we can take see what Ryan and K-Man have to say about this too, Dale, is we do have the Canadian election on the
Oh
28th.
yeah.
So is that
Sunday.
on Sunday? Yeah,
Monday,
it's on
Monday.
Sunday. Or is it Sunday, the 27th? Okay.
No, Monday.
Monday. Okay. Um, so we have the Canadian election. Everybody expects Carney is going to win, but how about if the Poilievre, is that how you pronounce his name? Anyway, I don't think he's got much of a chance. I'm not following Canadian politics too much. All I know is if he does win Poilievre, or if I said his name correctly, that would probably strengthen the Canadian a little bit. We would see the dollar CAD probably slumping a little bit further. He's going to be a little bit more hardline against Trump, so people believe. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to have much of a reaction. So maybe today's retail sales might do the trick. Anyway, what do you think, K-Man? We haven't talked to you really this morning. Good morning.
No, Dale is snubbing me. Good morning, Dale. Yeah. No, I think should, in theory, be Carney indeed. I'm actually not sure about if Poilievre wins, whether it's positive Canadian dollar, because if you go harder against the US, is it really going to be positive Canada?
Right. Yeah.
I'm not overly sure about that one, but yeah, should be Carney, right? That's what I would think anyway.
And don't you think? And I'm going to ask you this question just because you guys have seen Mark Carney in well, we've all watched him on several different stages now. over the years, whether, is it the Bank of Canada, whether it's Bank of England. We've seen him in, obviously in public view. He like any politician, he says whatever he needs to say to, win over the vote. And, talking tough against Trump has been, his shtick, and, maintaining that rhetoric. But, once he's in office, do you think that might change a little?
No, because he owes it or to Canada to continue along the same line. They have a lot to defend. To start with the car industry, the exports in different sectors. No, I don't think it will change a lot if he gets elected. He wants to make the best deal for Canada. Now, the real question is he going to succeed to get the best deal? Because Trump is quite wound up against all things Canadian. So I don't, yeah.
He's been pretty
Um,
quiet about Canada the last
you
few weeks. Have you noticed?
Not really. No, the day yesterday or the day before, he said that Canadian tariffs may go actually up because he doesn't want Canadian cars anymore. He wants them to be built
Well,
in America.
because I
So
know he would want he wants that conservative to win. And I was reading that he was kind of not saying much about Canada because he was driving people away from the conservative towards
mm,
Carney. That's what I read.
yeah, yeah, it's possible. So you think that Poilievre winning would be actually an approach between US and Canada?
I don't know. I thought that I thought him coming in might be a little bit more Canadian. It might usher in a little bit more Canadian strength just from some of the analysis that I've read, but I'm not following it super close either. So, but I think the charts tell you, where we're going to go. I mean, it's hard for us to sit here and, obviously we've tried to, everybody tries to do this and try to make assumption of what you think is going to happen, but ultimately the market's going to tell you which way we're going to be going. And I think the dollar CAD's pretty clear because, you break above 139, you're probably going to revisit this 140 level, which is obviously a big breakdown point. And then a break below, 138 is probably going to take us back towards channel support. And I think we just got to let the markets guide us rather than making an assumption. Because I don't know what the right answer is. I wish I did. So anyway, Ryan, do you have any thoughts there as far as Canada goes?
No, not really. this
Okay.
this data is months old as it is.
No. I'm talking the election. No,
Well, the
I
election,
think
yeah.
the retail sales data is not going to move the market today. I don't think so.
The election, I don't know. I think, like you say, if it's not Carney, there may be a move on the back of that it's someone different. Everything seems to be a bit on pause for the election. I don't know if Trump's given them a little bit of leeway to get over the election hump. Although he did drop a couple of lines earlier in the week about slapping more tariffs on and whatnot. Everyone's in full election mode. So whoever gets the job, they're probably going to then come out swinging not too long afterwards about deals and what they're going to do.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the Carney's odds against Poilievre hit a new high as far as yesterday, and that's I was just double checking that, and so yeah, the outlier would be obviously the other
Hey, Blake,
Poilievre. So,
Blake, how
yeah.
does a CAD yen look? Grega brought it up yesterday, liked it. Um, you know, uh,
Yeah, we
uh,
we had we actually had a lot of traders buying. We actually there's a couple of traders that talked about it in our community this week, buying it off of the lows
yeah,
because it created a false breakdown a couple of days ago. You can see that there.
yeah,
That's been the
yeah.
analysis. That's
Stop
you know
hunt.
Yeah, a little stop hunt, just is playing a little bit of Dale right below the
Yeah.
market there, and
Yeah.
got some people short. Then we're bouncing back to the 50 DMA, so I haven't looked at it this morning because this is
Yeah.
yesterday's. That was last night's analysis. That it'd be bouncing the last couple of days. So I guess if you look back over there, now
Yeah.
here's the thing about these yen pairs. And that's Swiss yen. Hold on. Here we go. So yeah, we almost got to the 50 DMA. That's been like the target ever since the false breakdown. So I don't know if I'd be chasing it up here, especially with these yen pairs. Now that you brought it up, Dale, I wanna highlight a couple of things. So the Aussie yen, we hit the 618 last night. We got just above 92, enough to squeeze myself out. And I got a little bit long last night, right after that Chinese headlines. I think I made like 35 pips. Got out of it, thank God, because it failed right at the 618
Yeah.
to the T. And then the Kiwi yen, this one squeezed me, but this one's failing at this descending trend line. So you see a lot of these yen pairs, they look
Yeah. Tired.
vulnerable now that they've stretched, right? So
Yeah.
the Canadian yen, it's like, do you really want to chase it up here, knowing that some of these other commodity yen pairs,
Don't look like they've already run. So you're buying the
they've
weakness
made their
almost.
run. They squeezed everybody out.
Yeah.
They suckered everybody in, overnight or over the weekend or over the last couple of days. Then you have the S&P failing at 5,500. So do you really want to be chasing yen pairs up here after, this week?
No.
I guess that's the question, right?
Okay. Who's going
Yeah.
to be selling the S&Ps at 61.8 next week?
Well, at the 50s,
Anyone?
that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping we get a
Could
squeeze.
still get it.
We could, but man, I think that no, this is a question that K-Man and Ryan were talking about on the Flow Show. Because if you guys don't listen to the Flow Show, when I get up in the morning, I listen to the recording. As soon as I get up, I let it play as I'm like going through analysis because they just had wrapped up as Dale and I are waking up in the morning. They were
Who's up?
asked, huh? What's that?
Who's up?
Yeah, no, yeah, not a lot of us. But when we're
Yeah.
getting in front of the computer and I'm trying to get caught up, the first thing that I do is I turn on the Flow Show. I go through our live squawk feed. I back it up, so I can see everything that's kind of happened the night before, listening to what Ryan and K-Man had to say, because they're just fresh off of analysis. And Ryan, you guys were talking about who do we trust? You got Trump out there saying, "Hey, negotiations are already starting," and then China's like, "Who are you even talking about, man? You haven't even talked to us yet." You know what I mean? So what do you do here because you get these headlines that you're thinking, okay, hey, maybe some progress is being made. S&P starts to rally, as you can see this week, and we've pressed higher, and then you get backhanded comments from China saying, we haven't even, you haven't even picked up the phone. What do you do here?
Well, this is going to sound a bit contradictory now from what we were talking about earlier, but if you get those moments you're in a trade, you got to take some profit, whether it's all or anything, because we're in a market where you can get a big move, you're on side, and then the next headline can happen when you're asleep, and the market wake up and the market's against you. So this is where taking partials comes into its own. If you get a move on a headline, you've got to take it. You've got to take it, and because you've got to know whatever's happening between China and US now, there is nothing concrete. Whatever Trump says, yeah, we're talking. Whatever China says, we're not talking. There is nothing concrete. So until such time as both China and the US announce they've got a deal, it's signed, sealed, rubber stamped, whatever, it's all conjecture. And
I'm glad you said that because this is going to be case in point. So last night, and just so everybody knows, yesterday I was short New Zealand yen going into last night, right? I was short like around here. Then, we got those headlines about China reducing, some of the tariffs, and that was an actual headline, right? So, I closed it for a loss. I turned around, went long the Aussie yen, and made money through this through the 92 yen level. Made most of my money back actually. And then I went to bed because I'm like, screw this. I cannot sit around through potential headline. Oh, sorry, Canadian data just came out. What do we got, guys? Sorry, I forgot we were running on time here. Here's retails.
Down 0.4% as expected. Take out autos though, bit better, up 0.5%.
So zero reaction out of Canada. Actually, the Canadian slightly weakening right now. It's going to be more on headline tariff news than anything.
Which book do you think is going to win, guys? The Art of War. I forgot the name of the author. You guys know, Lao Tzu.
I've got the book on my shelf.
Yeah, all right. Or The Art of the Deal. So anyway, I think they know they've got him twisting in the wind. And if they're going to make a deal, it won't be till near the end of the 90-day window because, they're just going to let him, live with what he did. They already know that President Trump is worried about China now, saying the tariffs won't be as high. They're just, it's like Tai Chi. When someone's off balance, you just let them fall on their own, and you don't give them a hand up either. So that's what's happened. So I don't think there's going to be any deal, if there is a deal, until much later in this 90-day period.
Yeah, what's great about that is we'll have 90 days of volatility, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or the market
China's certainly playing hardball, Dale. more than other countries. Other countries have come running with a cap in hand. Yeah, let's get a deal done and whatever. And China's like, no, fuck off. You do us a favor first before we come to the table.
Yeah, and also their population is a lot more has gone through more hardships than say the Western economies over the years, so the people can take it a little. They're tougher minded. Like if I'm without power or my internet for 6 hours, I start crying.
And that's a good point, Dale. We haven't
no
really
crises in our generation.
No, we have, but they're very short-lived, and the Fed has come to our they've come to our
save our asses.
They've saved our asses ever since the dot-com bubble. Thank you, Alan Greenspan. I mean, so whether it's the dot-com bubble, you guys can say, oh, well, we had the financial crisis, the GFC, and Lehman collapse. Yeah, but we were saved by Bernanke. And then, COVID, we're saved by Powell, or Yellen.
And the government, the federal government.
Yeah. And so it was Powell. But needless to say, we've always been saved in this generation. And we haven't had any hardship since, I don't know, Dale.
You haven't had any.
Since the Great Depression. I mean, I guess you can say we had a pretty big.
We're an untested. The uppies are an untested generation. They've brought a lot of yuppies have just rode the wave.
Yeah.
So
and I mean, I look at I'm just giving you this is a very you don't have a guest today, do you?
No.
Okay. I'll just give you an example. I have my uncle. He is he's done very well for himself. He was one of the head chip designers for Maxim Integrated Technologies, MXIM. They, eventually he sold, and he was with the company for 20 some odd years. He just plowed, and I'm not exaggerating. He had plowed about 20% of his income at a high executive level into his retirement every year since he started working for them, like in the late 80s. He's worth $25 million right now or so. He's all he knows is the market goes straight up. and you just keep plowing your money back into the market. I mean, through thick or thin, financial crisis, doubling up, COVID, doubling up, just putting more, any dip, just buying it. And that has been, our boomer generation has really, benefited from that. And you're right. I mean, we haven't seen any real hardships. So it's gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think everyone should read The Fourth Turning. Have you read it?
I haven't. I obviously know about it because
Yeah.
the gentleman that
Howell.
yeah, Hal, that he runs around on the different
Yeah.
YouTube channels and talks about it. I haven't, but tell us what your thoughts are there.
Well, we're in the, we're in the fourth turning that started, I think, I don't know, it's about a 20-year period and it's over in 2028, 2030. So we're approaching the end of the fourth turning, which, the fourth turning is winter. It's like seasons. So,
But
all kinds of
what does it mean to us? Like, what does it
uh
mean?
okay, guys like Ben Maldonado have talked about it before, the getting rid of the old structures, the tearing down of the old. Um, there's usually financial issues as the old order begins to fail before a new system comes in. There's usually war, just the worst of the worst of what happens, like the 30s.
Sounds bleak.
Yeah, it is,
Well, Ray
but
Ray Dalio is warning against it as well.
yeah,
Ray Dalio, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
change of regime, right?
yeah. So anyway, Um, we had a pretty nice ride, great music, everything else. Now it's our turn. And I really think it's going to be important to teach people how to be tactical, not to be caught with all their net worth in one egg, like the stock market, learning that cash is also a position, things like that during this time frame.
Look at
You think,
look at Grega's monthly Elliott wave count, Dale, which
yeah,
kind of echoes kind of what you're saying. I mean, and
yeah,
and look, this is a monthly chart, and
yeah,
if you just look down below, that you're talking 2028,
yeah,
2020, nine,
yeah.
Sorry, just
Yeah, no, but yeah,
visually.
uh, yeah. Some people are even, talking lower. But anyway, so we have to be tactical,
Yeah,
and I think it means also enjoying the now more than ever, because we could look back and say these are the good old days, right? So anyway, we'll trade them. We'll trade these
that's
historic
right.
markets. So join a community where you can learn. People are picking up on the fact that ForexAnalytix can be a great place, a great resource for traders at all levels. We're seeing tweets all the time now, a lot of testimonials, and I think if you look, you're not going to find a lot of people say, "Oh, I was at ForexAnalytix. Man, they sucked." Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that. So I'm not saying that we're perfect, but we're good. So, you know, change your life with a liberation sale. And, if there are multiple trades that would have paid for a year's subscription with a one lot all week. So that's my suggestion because, I think we all need each other. That's another thing about these times. They stress the importance of community, not just a community with chat rooms, but in your community where you live and people that you can cooperate with. So, um, why not start here if you're a trader? Um, that's you know, I think it's a great idea for people. I wish I would have had this um, when I was maybe in my early stage of my career, because and I was on the floor talking to great traders, but this structure and doing it every day, having it being part of your routine, That's what gives you your new paradigms, is forming new habits by repeating the good things over and over again. And, you got guys like Ryan that know how to hold, that could teach you how to hold a trade. And you have guys like Grega with, great wave counts and alternates, and Blake's experience as a classic pattern recognition guy. So, where are you going to go that's going to be better? If there's a place out there, let me know. And everyone have a good weekend. You think we've had enough this week, Blake? People caught the long side of the dollar. Who caught the long side of the dollar this week in any form? Or anything that worked? Ben, oh yeah, there's Ben. Passive investing won't work. Yeah. Adam, you did good. All right. Are you part of our community? Anyone else? I know Adam's not the only one. Okay. So there's another reason why you did okay. Okay. And Marco, you made some money being long in. Nice. Okay. All right. So there you go. People here in F.A.C.E, and a lot of them, a good week, Stephen? All right. What was your best trade?
Oh man, Steven's
In
been.
fact,
I think he buys gold every
Oh,
before
yeah,
Asia
yeah.
opens every day.
Goldfinger. That's your new handle. Tiffany had a good week too.
Yeah,
All
Tiffany's been
right.
ripping it up over there too in
All
the
right.
trade
And
room.
as
Yeah.
you can see, a lot of these people are in the community. They're not just in F.A.C.E. Okay. So you get great ideas for, a half an hour here every day. But how to manage a trade, and those the art of managing the risk and going to trailing your stop, those things happen after F.A.C.E. In fact, everything happens after F.A.C.E. in the market, so it's not enough coverage for you just to be here. So okay, there you go, some
and a
real-time
big shout to
examples.
you. Big shout to you, Dale. Of course, you're part of the crew. Your advice, your messages, your
Yeah,
sensibilities of trading. All goes in the mix with everyone else's.
well, thank you,
Yes.
Ryan. Anyway, this is just our intro. This is an intro to what we do here at F.A.C.E. Turn it into cash and join. Okay. Turn your F.A.C.E. experience into being part of the community. That's my advice for the week. And my advice every day, don't just count your pips, count your blessings, right? Okay. So don't be worried about the fourth turning. Maybe it won't happen. It will. Uh, but be prepared. And, you know, every crisis has opportunities. It could be an opportunity that, I don't know about you guys, but, I usually do better when the rest of the world isn't. When everyone's just floating along the market for 10 years, um, you know, it's not the greatest trader environment. It's a trend, and you're better off not even messing around with it. But now there are new trends emerging. There are big ranges. It's not the same animal it was last year, and we're not going back. Okay. So that's it. I don't have anything else to say. Thanks for listening, everybody. Team, good. Thank you. I would never snub you, K-Man. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I'm just an old guy. I have old timers. I forgot you were here. Uh, honestly,
You know
I'm
what?
being
I'll try
honest.
again. I'll try to be back on Monday, Dale. See if
Anyway,
you remember I was here today.
I,
Thanks, man.
your voice of experience, and the way you break things down fundamentally, and on top of it, you're a great technician. So the fundies and the techs. That's rare. So thank you for your contribution,
Cheers,
and
man.
everyone
You
have a
were
good
great this
weekend.
week.
Huh?
You were great this week. Let's see if we remember next week.
You're only as good as your last trade, and what have you done for me lately?
Absolutely.
Anyway, guys,
100%.
have a good weekend, everybody, and we'll get them next week too. It's going to be interesting with the Fed and everything, and S&Ps. You know, let's face it. Even if you're a bull and you think 4,800 was the low, and I'm open to it, but I'm going to attempt and probe some shorts if offered towards the end of the month and see what this market's made out of. And just have a feeling it might be um, the Mag 7 that would probably be the best rallies to sell. So that's it. I even looked at NVIDIA. If it could rally to 125 before it's a sell. It's like $20 from here. Anyway, uh, lots of trades setting up. See, you pulling it up, NVIDIA. Where
Yeah,
there?
I'm,
Oh,
I was
there it is.
just gonna pull that
I
up for
saw it.
you. Know, these tech stocks actually still look so damn strong for the most part. Where the
Yeah,
fuck? Where
I
is
couldn't. Yeah,
oh,
Apple's
there it is.
back above 200.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
NVIDIA right there coming back to the underside of the line or the moving average. Because and then maybe just one more low. You know, I think there's going to be a great rally this year during the forthcoming. So, if we rally and we get one more low in NVIDIA, I want to own semis. Don't adjust your volume. That's me saying it. I think there's going to be I'd love to see one more break in the market, like the guys looking for wave 5 down. Some are saying this is 2, which implies a 3 to the downside. That'd be bigger.
Oh
But
God, could you imagine if we have to do a wave
yeah,
three? I mean,
yeah,
that would be S&P
yeah,
4,200. I don't know,
yeah.
4,000. I don't know.
Well, I mean, from 48 to 61 is 13. There's 35.
God,
If you
could you
negate
imagine?
the
I mean,
4,800
it.
breakdown, that's what Gregor was showing as a target on that chart, 3,500
So it would
that you
be
showed earlier. Yeah,
it'd be this.
yeah,
Shit, it's
yeah, something like that.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what it would
But
look
I
like,
don't think
guys.
that's going to happen yet. I
Okay.
think there's going to be one good rally that's going to surprise everybody.
All right.
So, bonds aren't, if they can keep the bond market together.
Yeah.
Anyway,
If
anyway,
anyway.
yeah, have a good weekend, Blake.
You too, Coach. Thank you. And thanks everybody for listening in every day and being part of our community. Even if you're not inside of our chat rooms, thanks for just being here every day and interacting with us. I appreciate you. I'm going to be putting together a good week ahead video for you here in the next few hours. And I'll look forward to doing that for you guys for the weekend.
And congrats to all the people in F.A.C.E and in the community that made money. A lot of people didn't have such a great week. Glad you guys did, and see everyone on Monday.
Cheers,
See
everybody.
you, see you, see you, Blake. See you, Ryan. See you, K-Man.
Thanks,
Bye,
Coach.
everyone.
Well,